Yo, my people, welcome to my second video. This time, my same friend from last time who told me what happens in Captain America 4, he has seen the current draft of the new Thunderbolts film being released in 2025 by Marvel Studios. This person thinks that this movie is much better than Captain America 4 Brave New World. And they liked it. They enjoyed it. They thought it was a cool movie. I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited. I'm more excited for this film than I am for Captain America 4, to be honest. So yeah, I'm going to give you guys the notes on what my buddy told me happens in this movie. For context, my friend helped make the movie. He's seen the current draft, so he's told me what happens in the film. But as I said in my last video, the movie's still being made. They filmed it, but they're still editing the film, and they can change things even the day before the film comes out. So they might delete some of these scenes that I mentioned. They might add some new scenes. They might change some things. But generally speaking, I am 80% sure that this plot leak is accurate. And I have a spoiler or two for you. So spoiler warning, though I could be wrong about what happens, or not necessarily that I'd be wrong. I'm definitely right, but Marvel might just change some things. So maybe no spoilers. But again, I'm 80% sure that this plot leak, what I've been told, is what's going to happen in the movie, based on the trailers as well, which confirms what my friend saw when he saw a current draft of the film. But again, things can change. So, without further ado, I'm going to tell you what happens next year in the Thunderbolts movie by Marvel Studios. The film will start with Black Widow, Yelena Belova, our new Black Widow, on a mission for Val. Again, you need some context. I assume if you're watching this video, then you've obviously seen the relevant projects. But just in case, I'll tell you that before you watch Thunderbolts, I would recommend you watch the Black Widow movie that explains who Yelena is. You should watch Hawkeye. I mean, I didn't like Hawkeye that much, but you should at least watch Yelena's scenes in Hawkeye. Falcon and the Winter Soldier is definitely kind of necessary, I think. So you know who US Agent is, and Val is also in that show. Uh, what else would you need to watch? I don't think you need to watch Ant-Man 3, to be honest, but obviously Ghost is returning from that film, and obviously Taskmaster was in Black Widow. So I think that's pretty much, other than, maybe some Avengers movies, whatever, that's generally the main things you need to see. But if you had to watch anything before Thunderbolts, then it would probably need to be Black Widow, probably, because this is, I think, more than anything, a sequel to that. But it is a sequel for all these characters. Anyway, Val is our evil Nick Fury. She works for the CIA and she's assembling an Avengers team just like Nick Fury, but she is shady. She is evil. So she has a team of these mostly supervillains, but she's going to try and make them look like superheroes, which is straight from the Dark Avengers comics. There are Thunderbolts comics that are also similar as well, which is where they got the name from. Marvel probably would have liked to have called this film Dark Avengers, but I think the Avengers name is just too gold. Marvel doesn't want to throw any movie out that's called Avengers anything unless it's a $1 billion project. I think the Avengers trademark is just too special now. They could have called this film Dark Avengers, but it's too risky. If this film flops, it kind of ruins the Avengers name because Dark Avengers is still Avengers. It's the same with the Young Avengers. We've just been told that the Young Avengers project is not going to be a movie, and instead it will be a TV show, and they're still not going to call it Young Avengers. They're going to call it Champions, because the Champions team is basically very similar to the Young Avengers from the comics, and the Avengers name is too special. If Young Avengers flops, it makes the Avengers look bad. So, no Dark Avengers, instead they're called the Thunderbolts. No Young Avengers, instead they're going with the Champions name. And again, in the comics, there is a Thunderbolts team, which is basically the Dark Avengers. There is a Champions team, which is basically the Young Avengers. So it works. Anyway, and that also explains the asterisks in the Thunderbolts title. You know, when you're texting someone and you make a mistake, so you do an asterisk to correct your message. That's why the movie is called Thunderbolts asterisk, because it's really supposed to be called Dark Avengers or New Avengers. This movie is about our New Avengers, which is why I'm excited for this film. It's literally a New Avengers film. Like, you can low-key think of this as a New Avengers movie, Avengers 5 or whatever. Anyway, Yelena's on a mission for Val. something. She blows up a building. We see it in the trailer. Our other anti-heroes also, or villains, they also are they all work for Val at this point, but separately. They each of our characters, Taskmaster works for Val separately from US Agent, who works for Val separately from um Black Widow, who works for Val separately from maybe Ghost, who works for Val. I think the only one that doesn't work for Val is Red Guardian, who Black Widow is the one who gets him involved in. That's why in the trailer, Val doesn't know who Red Guardian is because he's not really invited, but he ends up joining the team anyway, which is very Red Guardian, very funny. There is a scene with the Red Room from Black Widow, so again, reference to that. Ghost apparently has an epic fight scene, which is cool because she has really cool powers. Um, Taskmaster dies early in the movie. It's very Suicide Squad, so Taskmaster doesn't make it very long. Makes a lot of sense, but yeah, spoiler alert, Taskmaster dies pretty early on. Think about it. That character, from what I remember, is mute. They don't speak, and also they were just a crap adaptation of Taskmaster. So I'm glad that they're killing off this version of Taskmaster. Fingers crossed we get the true Tony Masters version, because Taskmaster's a really cool man in the comics, and instead they made Taskmaster a really lame woman. And it's not so much a gender swap, it's the fact that the character doesn't talk, the character's boring, the character's generic, the character is crap in every way. So yeah, Taskmaster dies early on. Womp womp. Anyway, all of our villains, right, the different members of the team, they were each sent on missions by Val to collect things necessary to create the Sentry, but they didn't know they were doing that. Yelena robs a government lab, a different character robs some whatever. They each are on missions, but they don't actually know what the bigger goal is from Val. So our heroes inadvertently help create the Sentry. If you've seen The Boys, this movie is like The Boys, and I love The Boys. It's very much like Homelander. The Sentry is a manufactured, experimented on superhero. He's meant to be Marvel's Superman, but he was created in a lab. He wasn't born with powers like Superman. He was created, and it's all artificial to be for him to be a superhero. It was always planned by the government. Very much Homelander vibes. Sentry isn't inherently like an asshole like Homelander, but he is a bit mentally ill. More on that in a second. So the team inadvertently create Bob, aka the Sentry, and they are sent to kill Bob, but actually Bob is meant to kill them. So we see that in the trailer. We see when all the characters meet in the lab, they're there to kill Bob, but it's actually a setup by Val. It seems she wants to tie up loose ends. She sent all these metahumans to create an even better metahuman, and now that they did it, she doesn't need Black Widow and US Agent and Ghost. She doesn't need any of these people anymore, so she's hoping that they'll kill each other and all loose ends will be tied up. But our heroes survive. Maybe Taskmaster doesn't, but our heroes survive and they're able to go on and confront Val at the Avengers Tower. Val has bought the Avengers Tower. Mystery solved. Who bought the Avengers Tower? Well, the new Avengers did. Makes perfect sense. So our heroes go there to confront Val, and they're probably pissed at her, but they end up, obviously, she wins them over somehow. Let's not forget that the Winter Soldier's in this movie. I haven't mentioned him yet. Let's not forget that he's here. I should also note that my friend forgot when Taskmaster died. So this dude, he gets to work on these movies, but he's not the biggest comic book fan, so he kind of zones out. Doesn't rewatch movies before this one. So yeah, he couldn't tell me exactly how Taskmaster died, but yeah, Taskmaster dies. Again, the draft he saw of the film, to be fair, it wasn't fully finished. So there you go. Anyway, Val sends the Sentry to join the team in the Avengers Tower. He has his full costume. It's really cool. And now they're the new Avengers, basically. But unfortunately, whenever they're sent on a mission, the Sentry is mentally ill. He has voices in his head, and they kind of drive him crazy. If you know the comics, the Sentry turns into an evil version of himself called the Void, and it's very trippy when he uses his Void powers. But our heroes, the Thunderbolts, they're able to calm the Sentry down and stop him from going fully insane, basically. They make the voices go away. But they still have to have an epic fight with the Sentry, who again is like Superman, atop of the Avengers Tower. So it's a really epic Avengers type fight scene. It's giving Avengers 2012. Anyway, my friend mentioned that they might do something with Tiamat Island, which I mentioned from Captain America 4. Adamantium, of course. What I do know is that the film ends with our heroes defeating Sentry, who again, Sentry is Homelander, evil Superman, bit insane, but they're able to defeat him, and Val basically is able to nerf his powers since he was too dangerous, and also wipe his memory, which reminds me of something, I'm not sure what. Maybe it's a bit like Soldier Boy almost, but anyway, Sentry gets his memory wiped, but he probably still remembers a few things. He's also been nerfed, unfortunately, which I think is a bit of a shame. Keep him OP, man. Why nerf him? Anyway, they might change that, but that's pretty much how the movie ends, you know? The Thunderbolts are the new Avengers. They become official. They probably, just like in the comic, will do some kind of press conference, like they did with US Agent when he became the new Captain America. They'll somehow, some way do a thing where the Thunderbolts are the new Avengers. I'm willing to bet they'll even say that in the movie, that welcome your new Avengers, and it will be the Thunderbolts, hence the asterisk in the title. The movie should be called Dark Avengers or New Avengers. Obviously, they're not really the Avengers because they're mostly supervillains. But you get the gist. The government would convince you that these are your new Avengers, but it's giving the boys, it's giving the seven, if you know what I mean. Anyway, something about Wakanda. My friend mentioned that there was something about Wakanda towards the end of the movie. I think that's pretty much the main notes of what he told me happens in the movie. You know, unfortunately, I can't remember what the Wakanda connection was, but you heard it here first. Pardon me. As far as post end credits or whatever, there might be some Wakanda thing. I'll give you more information if any comes out, but pretty basic plot leak in terms of that's what happens. Sentry is the main villain. Val is technically the main villain. There's an epic fight scene above Avengers Tower. Taskmaster dies. Ghost has an epic fight scene. The main point of the film is that for all intents and purposes, this is the new Avengers. I found it kind of weird that, you know, before we get Avengers Doomsday, if you think of old Avengers movies, we'd always get films with the big three before we ever got an Avengers movie. So we're getting a new Captain America film. Spider-Man is the new Iron Man, and he's already had, at this point, 2 films, or at least 1 film, obviously, before the Avengers. He had No Way Home, Captain America Brave New World, and Thor has Thor Love and Thunder, if you want to consider Thor to still be the third key player in an Avengers film. If not Thor, then we've obviously had Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, which that's fine. We've had Ant-Man. So all intents and purposes, I guess we have had a few Avengers movies, Avenger build-up movies. Fantastic Four is going to be a big one leading up into Doomsday. But so is this movie. This is an important film, you know? Just in establishing the fact that these characters actually matter. So yeah, that's the movie. The movie sets up that these are our quote-unquote new Avengers before we get the real Avengers in Doomsday. Probably the real Avengers won't call themselves the Avengers because the name has been used by this bootleg team, and obviously eventually they'll reconcile that, where we're going to have the real Avengers with Spider-Man, Captain America, etc. That won't happen until, I assume, Doomsday or Secret Wars. That's the movie. Post-end credits is too early to say. Marvel probably hasn't even filmed them yet. Any updates I get, I'll let you know. I think the movie sounds really cool. This is basically Marvel's Suicide Squad, which I'm actually very excited to see. I think it's cool, man. I love the Dark Avengers comic. My favorite aspect of the Dark Avengers comic is definitely the boys. In terms of, if you watch the boys, it's really interesting to see how the Justice League behind closed doors could be really messed up. I hope they do that in this movie. I kind of doubt it because these guys are not really supervillains. You know, the Winter Soldier's a good guy. You know, Ghost was a supervillain, so maybe she'll do some shady stuff. But even then, she was very sympathetic. You know, she wasn't necessarily truly evil, from what I remember. Obviously, Black Widow's a good guy. Red Guardian is more or less a good guy at this point. Sentry is Sentry. And who else is on this team? Ghost. I already mentioned Ghost. I mean, that's pretty much the whole team. Like, from what I wrote, maybe I'm missing someone, but you get the point. Like, they're not really that evil, any of these people. So that is a bit of a shame because in Dark Avengers, like, you have Matt Gargan, Scorpion, as Venom Spider-Man and he's actually evil. You have an evil Wolverine, you have an evil Captain Marvel, you have an evil, like they're actually supervillains. Whereas in this, it's the anti-hero thing. So I hope they make it interesting because the boys, those guys are supervillains, which is why it's so interesting, So we'll see, we'll see, we'll see. I think the movie should be cool. 80% sure that's what happens. This movie is, again, new Avengers. Post-end credits, whatever, will probably build towards Secret Wars something, but I don't really know. I only know that it might have something to do with Wakanda, as in there might be a Black Panther connection. That's the best I can give you. Super early. The notes my friend gave me were vague. We'll see. Anyway, thank you for listening. That's what happens in the Thunderbolts, and I don't know what my next video will be. Maybe Fantastic Four, maybe Daredevil, who knows? Maybe Superman. Maybe I won't just do Marvel. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think, if it sounds cool, if it sounds crap, and I'll see you next time. Peace.